Hi, everyone. Welcome to another insightful live conversation. Today, we are joined by Haniff Hoosen, a prominent South African political figure and former Democratic Alliance Member of Parliament. We'll be discussing his journey in public service, the challenges facing eThekwini Municipality, service delivery, infrastructure, governance, economic development, and his vision for the city's future. Let's get straight to this important conversation. How are you, Haniff?
I'm very well. Thank you very much for having me on your lovely platform. And I'm looking forward to the conversation and the interaction. So, yeah, I'm doing great and just been running around in the campaign and having a fabulous time.
Awesome. So, Hanif, looking back at your political journey with the Democratic Alliance, what initially motivated you to enter public service, and how have your experiences in Parliament shaped your approach to leadership?
Well, been around in politics since I was in high school, actually. So it goes back way
Wow.
back when. And
Okay.
I took an interest in community affairs and what was going on in my community. Just even as I left high school, and then I got involved in more local government, and then I served as a councillor here in eThekwini for about 25 years ago. I was on the
Wow.
eThekwini Municipality Executive Committee for a number of years. So I have a background in the city. I've lived here all my life. I grew up here. So and I love Durban. And then I moved off to Parliament for about 25 years. Sorry, just under 20 years. I was in Parliament, specializing mostly in local government. So I do have quite a bit of experience, and it has just grown on me from day one, and I thoroughly enjoy it. So many people take a bit of a back seat and allow others to determine their future, but I've always played a frontline leading role in trying to shape our communities, shape our country, shape our city. And I took a bit of a retirement after about 20 years in Parliament,
Wow.
and but now I'm back. Now I'm back to fight another day to govern the city and just change the direction in which we're moving.
You just mentioned about the retirement. It's like, what made you get out of retirement? Like, what? Yeah.
Well, my kids are grown up, and so
Okay.
my wife and I had an opportunity to, just spend some time traveling and enjoying each other's company, and so we had a great opportunity to do that. But while I was on retirement, I got a call up again to say, "Wouldn't you want to come and help us to change the government in eThekwini and get Durban working again?" And I was like,
Mhm.
"Well, this is the city I love so
Mm.
much." I mean, I've traveled to so many countries in the world, but I tell you, nothing beats coming back home to Durban. It's one of the best
Mm.
cities. It has just so much of potential, and I love this place, and I want to make it work, and I want to build a city that we can be proud of. So it's an opportunity that I raise my hand for, and I'm absolutely committed to making it work.
Awesome. You have been closely involved in the debate around local government and eThekwini. In your
Yes.
view, what are the three biggest challenges currently facing the municipality?
Look, the number one challenge that we have in our city at the moment is a massive water crisis.
Mm.
Most cities in South Africa don't produce their own water, right? They buy it from
Mm.
different water boards and so on. And here in Durban, the municipality buys the water from Umgeni or Tugela Water, and they resell it back to the residents at a small
Mm.
margin, a profit margin. At the moment, Durban is losing 65% of the water that it purchases from Umgeni Water. Can you believe that? 65% through leaks,
Oh.
through theft and non-revenue water. And that's a crisis. It means for every
Mm.
100 liters that Durban is buying, it's literally throwing 65 liters of it down the drain. But where it matters most is that it's making it unaffordable for people.
Mm.
It means that all of us have to pay for the water that's going down the drain. But more importantly than that, I've been through communities that go without water sometimes for weeks on end, for months on end. In fact, there was one particular community that I've been through in Buffelsdry, not far from my home, probably about 30 k's away from here. The water went off 10 years ago. They have the taps, they have the infrastructure, they have everything. It went off 10 years ago. To this day, it hasn't come on. So they're living off water tankers. They have to wait for the water tanker to deliver water every single day to them. I mean, who would have thought in 2026, 30 years after our democracy,
Yeah.
so that I think is the number one priority that we have to get right. And the main contributing factor was mismanagement. Our city government failed to maintain the underground infrastructure for decades now. They've been using the money for all sorts of other vanity projects and corruption, financial mismanagement. They didn't put the money to work. And so we're now sitting in the tail end of a problem that really is become crisis proportions. As I speak to you this morning, Siddharth, we're sitting with about 13,000 active water leaks all over the city. Just think about that for a moment. 13,000
Yeah.
active water leaks. So there's a lot of
Okay.
water. So that's our number one priority to turn around. Yeah.
Oh, what about the other two biggest challenges? I think you've only
Well,
spoken about the water
if you want
side.
to get the
Yeah.
if you want to get the water infrastructure right, it means we're going to have to invest billions of rands into that. So the
Okay.
management of the finances is critically important. So I'll give you an example.
Okay.
Currently, the city is sitting with a debt book of about 50 billion rand, 50. In a budget of 72 billion rand, if you're sitting with a debt book of 50 billion rand, you're heading for bankruptcy. It means that you have to
True.
manage the money much better. And so that's our second priority, is to make sure that we take control of the finances. We spend the money for its intended purpose. We collect money that's outstanding. We put an end to wastage. We put an end to financial mismanagement. We put an end to corruption. And the third most important thing for us is to create jobs here in the city, so that there's just far too many people, especially young
Yeah.
people, who have a piece of paper in their hand because they have qualified from a university every year, but they don't have a job. And so I think that if we can get the city working again,
Yeah.
sort out the very basics, we'll be able to get people to reinvest in Durban. I have met so many developers and investors over the last 6 to 8 months, and almost all of them are saying to me, we're just waiting for a new government and we'll start reinvesting billions of rands. The plans are ready for development,
Ah,
more shopping centers, malls, hospitals. So unfortunately, people have not given up on Durban, fortunately. Unfortunately, they've given up on our government. And once we have a new government in
yeah.
place, I think that we're going to start seeing Durban booming again. We're going to start getting the tourists back. At the height of our tourist season in December last year, our city government didn't bother to maintain our sewer infrastructure. And so we had sewer flowing into the oceans and they had to shut the beaches down. I mean, can you believe it? Our number one asset is our beautiful coastline. Everybody in South Africa knows Durban over the holiday season, right? This is the place to go in December. But here we had a government that didn't bother to maintain the sewer infrastructure. And so we had high levels of E. coli in the beach, which was extremely unsafe for bathers. And so I had to shut that down. So those are the things that we need to get right in our city. And if we're not going to get those things right, we're going to continue moving in the wrong direction. But I'm hopeful that we'll be able to turn the corner. All it takes is for us to get four things right: employ the best people for the job, hold them accountable when they don't do their job, put the money to work, every single
Cool.
cent, put it to work for the people of the city, and stop stealing people's money. If we can implement those four things immediately, I think we're going to start seeing Durban on a pathway to progress.
Awesome. Service delivery remains one of the biggest concerns for residents. What do you believe needs to change to ensure that basic services such as water, electricity, roads, waste management, and sanitation are delivered more effectively?
I think one of the most important things is to get the right people in the right job. To give an example, I just
That's
told
true.
you about the waste water treatment plants that have been collapsing, and also 13,000 active leaks in the city. Those two departments are run by the head of water and sanitation. That particular gentleman, after bringing the city to the crisis that we are in today, our city government decides to give him a promotion and add a further 1 million rand to his annual salary. Now, for me, that's not efficiency, and that's not employing the right people for the job. If it were up to me, that person would have been fired a long time ago. So, one of the things that we need to get right in the city is to get qualified individuals who are capable of doing the job, who have the necessary qualifications and the experience, and hold them accountable when they don't do their job. You talked about waste removal. Here in Durban, we have um, hundreds of contractors who supposed to be collecting the waste in our communities. But wherever you travel around in our townships, in communities, you'll find mountains of waste that haven't been collected. But yet our city government is spending 700 million rand every single year to pay these contractors to collect the rubbish. So they're not collecting the rubbish. No one's holding them accountable, but they're collecting the cash every single month. And somebody in that department has to be accountable for that, unless that person is also collecting cash. And that's why they're turning a blind eye. So the levels of financial mismanagement and corruption, inefficiencies in the city has to come to an end if we want to turn the corner in the city. And I'm absolutely committed to making sure that we hold people accountable for the millions of rands that they get paid every single month, every single year. I apologize.
Our infrastructure deterioration has become a major concern in eThekwini. How can the city balance repairing aging infrastructure with the need to invest in new infrastructure for future growth?
Well, one of the things that you have to do if you want to run a city like a business, you have to fix what's broken first before you build
Mm,
new things. You can't keep building new things, but you don't maintain the existing infrastructure.
mm,
And that's the
yeah,
problem that we've been sitting with here in Durban. For more than 20 years, our city government didn't invest enough money in our underground pipes, for example.
yes.
All of these pipes have a lifespan. You have to replace and maintain and repair them over a period of time, but that hasn't been done. And that's why we're sitting with 13,000 active leaks in the city. So that has to be a priority. And if you want to run a city well, you have to invest in its infrastructure, use large portions of your budget towards capital expenditure. And cities are not run about it's not about ideologies. It's about just getting the basics right, putting water in your taps, keeping the electricity on, fixing the roads, keeping our public spaces clean. Those are simple, basic things. It's not about building mountains and massive stadiums and massive bridges and those type. Get the basics right first. Our city government has failed to take care of the very basic things like just providing water in the taps for people. And so I'm on a mission to fix that problem here in the city, and I'll make sure that within the 5-year term that we'll be able to turn the corner and at least then start getting the city working again.
You have been a strong voice on governance and accountability. What practical measures would you introduce to improve transparency, reduce corruption, and ensure that public money is being used responsibly?
I think that one of the things that we are lacking in our governments is the issue around transparency. And this
Mm,
thing around tenders and contracts that are being handed out in dark rooms. Nobody knows who they are. There are companies here in the city that are getting contracts in the hundreds of millions of rands, but new businesses and small businesses are not getting those opportunities, especially for young people. Let me give you an example. In our city here in Durban, they spend only 4% of the money that they allocate on tenders and contracts to young people. But yet
oh,
we've got thousands of qualified graduates here in the city, all of whom can set up their own businesses and can be supported by the city's supply chain management process. So we have to create much more opportunities for young people and new businesses. Governments don't create jobs. Governments can help to provide and create an
mm,
environment for businesses to thrive, and those businesses will create jobs. And so, one of the things that we're pretty serious about in the city is to actually start setting up a system that we can establish many more small businesses in the city. I would like to put at least 500 million rand aside for a startup of small businesses, and that to actually start small businesses growing in the city. So that more than 60% of the people who are employed in South Africa are employed by small businesses, not by the big business. So the opportunity lies there in small businesses. When you've got a highly qualified young generation in our city who are sitting at home and doing nothing, and all they need is a
mm.
little bit of help from their local government to actually set up a business and get started. I mean, a simple thing like a car wash, as basic and simple as that is, help a small business to get a simple thing like a car wash off the ground, and you'll generate 15 to 20 jobs minimum. Imagine 1,000 of those. So I'm
Wow.
just giving you one classic example. But of course, those are very basic things. There are a number of young people, graduates who are walking around the streets here in the city, all of whom are now skilled. They got a knowledge base, and let's put that knowledge to work and let's invest in our
Hmm.
people. If we invest in our people in the city, they'll be able to contribute towards the rates and the tax base, for example, which is another problem in our city, in that only just over 30% of people are actually contributing actively towards the rates base here in the city. And we need to change that. But you can't change it if you're not going to invest in your people.
That's so true. eThekwini, the city with enormous economic potential, particularly through tourism, the port and small businesses. What would your strategy to be to attract investment, create jobs, and stimulate economic growth?
Well, many people have long forgotten, Siddharth, that Durban used to have the highest number of tourists in South Africa.
Mhm.
Durban used to have more tourists than Cape Town at one stage. I know this because
Yes.
I was there. I used to sit on the executive committee. We used to get regular reports on the number of tourists entering Durban by comparison to Cape Town. And we were always ahead of Cape Town, but look where we are now. And
Mm,
that's largely because of poor governance, poor financial
mm,
mismanagement, a lack of investment in our tourism opportunities. Durban has got everything that the world wants. We've got the best beaches, we've got the best food, we've got the best people, we've got the best weather, there's best opportunities here. And Durban has got the most diverse cultures, the Indian culture, the Zulu cultures,
yes.
and it's a beautiful city. But our city government is not investing in promoting our city internationally because we've got nothing to offer right now. When you have sewer flowing into our oceans and you have to close the beaches, that's not an opportunity for tourists. So I want us to get the basics right. I want us to invest the money and resources in getting the city working again, and then start investing in promoting our city to the rest of the world. I want us one day to stand up to say, Habibi, come to Durban, not to Dubai.
That's true. So basically, in a nutshell, Durban is being let down by its mismanagement, basically.
Yeah, regrettably, we've got a city government that has no vision, they have no passion,
Mm,
and they don't care about the very communities who elected them. You remember in 1994, there used to be these posters on the poles that said a better life for all. That hasn't been
mm,
delivered. It's gone more than 30 years. There used to be those posters that says houses for all. Well, Durban has got 600 informal settlements, the highest in South Africa. So that promise hasn't been delivered. There used to be that poster in 1994 that said jobs for all. Today, more people are unemployed in the city than ever before. So I think people are tired of promises. They're
mm.
waiting for change in the city. And I'm encouraged by the support that we've been receiving across the city from a diverse group of communities, whether it's the townships or the suburbs or the informal settlements. People are just hungry for change. And that's why I want to use the opportunity to call on South Africans to say we can be so much better than this. Let us put our differences aside. It doesn't matter what we look like, what we speak like, what food we eat, and whether we pray differently. We love the city. We can make it work. Durban deserves better than this. And if we stand together, we'll be able to get our city working again, a city that we can be so proud of to call home.
Awesome. Political coalitions have become increasingly important in South African local government. What makes a coalition work effectively, and what are the biggest dangers when political interests take priority over the needs of residents?
Well, so that coalitions are very much like a marriage. There are some things that you can tolerate, and there are other things that you cannot. And so for us,
That's true.
the minimum requirements for us are the things that we will not tolerate. We want to make sure we put an end to corruption. So any coalition partner that's not going to commit to helping us to put an end to corruption and financial mismanagement is not going to be a partner in a marriage. The second thing that we want to make sure is that we prioritize this issue around water that we need to fix in that coalition. So if a coalition partner does not subscribe to that principle, unfortunately, that's not going to be the case. So our values and principles are important for us. A free market economy, that we want to put an end to corruption and financial mismanagement, that politicians must not get involved in tenders and filling their own pockets as opposed to putting the interest of the community first. I'm tired of seeing councillors roaming around with 7 and 8 bodyguards because there's a sense of ego that they have. That's not what we elect our politicians for. So when we get to the stage after the elections, I want us to aim for a 50% majority first. That's our number one prize. I'm not getting in this race to come second.
Mhm.
And I want us to get behind a party that has the who are experts in local government. Wherever South Africans have given the DA a chance, we've always turned things around. We've done it all over South Africa. I don't have to give you the examples. People know this. Even Cyril Ramaphosa has confirmed that DA governments are
Mm.
better than any other political party. So if people want a good government
Yeah.
in their cities, get behind the DA. Let's turn the city around. If we don't deliver in 5 years, fire us. And that's why it's important for people to understand that local government is about service delivery, not ideologies. And if the majority of people can get behind the DA, we won't have to head for a coalition. But if we do end up with a coalition, I can tell you this much. There's one party that we will not get into a coalition with, and that is the MK party, because they represent chaos wherever they go. And we're tired of chaos in the city. We want good governance. We want to
Mm.
put the city on the pathway to progress. And we're not going to do that with a group of people who have a corrupt background and history. In any
Mm.
event, the people in the MK are exactly one and the same thing with the people from the ANC, because they're all just changed the color of their t-shirt from yellow to green.
Young people face enormous challenges around unemployment and opportunity. What can municipalities realistically do to help young South Africans gain skills, find employment, and become entrepreneurs?
So that one of the things that I want us to do is to set aside a 500 million rand stimulus package for young people in the city. I want us to create a small business development unit. I want us to invite young people to submit a business plan on their ideas. I want us to focus on the priorities of AI and technology. There are very smart people in the city that we need to invest in them. And I want us to use that money to invest in those people to establish small businesses in the city. I want us to become the leading city in the country in terms of creating jobs for young people. We've got the
Wow.
brightest minds here. We've got the brightest minds in the city, but we're not investing in them.
Mhm.
And so that specific department is going to be my priority focus, because I want to be proud of the young people who can build the city. Our future lies in them. If we can invest
Mm.
in young people, that would be an investment for the future, right? That's a 20-year,
That's
30-year
true.
investment. So that's the place that we need to put our money. And if we can establish within that first 5 years, nothing less than 10 or 15,000 new businesses in the city run by young people, hand out a higher percentage of contracts and supply chain management tenders to younger people so we can establish more businesses, I think we'll be able to achieve that within a 5 year period. And I'm so looking forward to that. I'm passionate about it, and I want to prove to people of South Africa that Durban can be better than this.
Lovely. Having worked at both national and local levels of politics, what do you believe is the biggest misconception the public has about politicians and the reality of governing?
We're not all the same. There are
Hmm,
still good
that's true.
politicians left, and you're looking at one of them. I step forward not because I'm looking for a job. I come out of retirement because I love the city and I want to make it work. I'm not interested in those goals. I'm interested is to make that this city works and be proud. And that's why I'm investing.
Mhm.
And as I said, given up on Durban. They've given up on our
Hmm.
government. And once we get a new government, we can set the city on a pathway to progress. And I desperately want us to achieve that. So not all our politicians are the same. You know, one
Hmm.
of the things that I have said upfront at the day that I accepted the nomination for the mayoral candidate is that I'm going to commit to a lifestyle audit on me and my entire family every year without fail for as long as I occupy that office. And the results of that lifestyle audit must be made public. I want to lead by example, and I want to show South Africans that they can be good politicians and inspire more young people to get involved, to become involved for public service and not just for personal service. I'm tired of seeing politicians who are
Hmm.
interested only in feathering their own nest, as they say. I think we can be better than that, and I want to be that person who starts that process here in Durban.
All right, I'll get to my final question and then I'll get to the comments here. Looking ahead, what is your vision for eThekwini over the next 5 to 10 years? And what would you like residents to say about the city if that vision becomes a reality?
Within the next 5 years, I want to put an end to the water crisis in the city. I want to get our blue flag status back in the city. We need to stop sewer flowing into these oceans, and we need to start fixing our sewer infrastructure. I want to put the criminals in jail, not in government. People who have stolen from us, there's a special place for them in Westville Prison, not City Hall. And we need to get rid of those people who have been stealing from us for so many years. We've got 72 billion rand. We need to put that to work. And I'm committed to making sure that those are the things that I want us to fix here in the city. Get the money right, manage the money properly, employ the best people for the job, hold them accountable when they don't do their job, use the money for its intended purpose and invest in our young people, and stop stealing people's money. We're tired of that, and we need to put an end to it once and for all.
Awesome. All right, I'll get to the comment questions here. This is from Resh Chitan. Greetings, Mr. Hoosen. One thing that concerns me is the safety in eThekwini. What are the plans to reduce these concerns, thus encouraging tourism?
That's a fabulous question, and it's an important one because it speaks to the lived experiences of people. So that if you walk around in Durban, we have some beautiful parks, but there's no children. You don't see
Yes.
children playing in our parks and our public spaces anymore. And part of the reason why that's happening is because we're not investing in our safety and security. Let me give you an example of what's going on here in the city. Our city government spends 400 million rand every year on bodyguards for councillors and officials. Can you believe that? 400 million rand. Imagine how many more police and police vehicles we can get with that money. And that's the thing that I want to change. And if we can have more police present in our street, the criminals will be cautious because criminals don't operate where the police operate, right? So if you want to get rid of
Mm.
the criminals, put more police on the street, make sure that they're effective, that they provide a service, stop bribing, taking bribes from people. There is currently a report that's before the municipality on quite a number of policemen who have actually been taking bribes, and that's an area of focus that we're going to look at. We need to turn the city into a safe space, and it can be done, Siddharth. Recently, we had the SADC conference. We had police all over the place. How is it that we can do it for international guests, but we can't do it for ourselves when we're living here every day? During the World Cup, you saw that Durban became a very safe space because we had so many police available. How is it possible that we could do it then, but we can't do it every day? And that's the thing that I want to change. I know that there is money for us to do it. We just need using the money in the right way.
Yeah, I agree with you on that. Thanks so much for your time and best of luck.
Thank you very much for having me. My message to the people in the city on the 5th of November, you have two options. Either you're going to wake up to an MK mayor or a DA mayor. And if you think the ANC was bad, wait until you get to an MK government in Durban. So help me to get the city working again. Let's put an end to the corruption. Let's build a city that we can all be proud of, and let's get our city working again. Thank you very much for the opportunity. I really appreciate it.
You're most welcome.